agendas.
I don't know who's
I'm requesting a little more time on the
Okay.
I'm worried.
Okay.
Tried going fast, but I couldn't. Oh, yeah.
Were you gonna sit here?
Sure, sure, I can do that. That'd be great. Is this you?
That's
Wonderful.
backwards.
That's you backwards.
Oh, here comes.
Yeah, yeah.
Mark, are you gonna be the timer?
Well, I don't know. I think there's supposed to be one coming.
Well, I'll leave here.
Here comes Mark.
Yep.
Yeah.
What time is it?
It's
It
time.
is 10 seconds till the hour.
Oh, okay. I have to use the bathroom.
Gotta go. Say, ma'am.
I think that's one of these.
No, I don't know. Gonna have to line up some evaluators if they don't come pretty soon, so.
Yeah, Mark will be an evaluator.
Mark will be, how about, Virginia, you wanna be evaluator?
Virginia's already volunteered to do gyms.
Oh, you're gonna do gyms?
Yeah,
Okay.
Does Mark want to evaluate me?
sure.
And then I need one.
Yeah.
Are you RGE today?
I'm a substitute for Peggy until she gets her, so I
Okay.
guess, and you need one, and who advances?
Yep, and I think she said Mark.
Oh, Mark, okay. And you don't have one yet.
No.
I guess I can do yours unless somebody comes and signs it.
Okay.
How long is your speech?
8 to 10.
How about yours, Jim? How long?
8 to 10.
8 to 10?
Well, we're gonna be wordy today.
And
Mine is short, 5 to 7.
7.
You coming up?
I'm thinking about it, unless you want to do it.
I'll do it.
Okay.
I'll do it, then I'll call on you. Good afternoon. Shall we go ahead and say the pledge while George is rising and reminding us? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As we stand, let's do our mission as well. The mission of the Toastmasters Club is to provide a mutually supportive and positive learning environment in which every individual member has the opportunity to develop oral communication and leadership skills, which in turn fosters self-confidence and personal growth. Thank you. You may be seated. Welcome all. So let's see if Donna has any business as our acting president for today.
I don't.
Very good. Other than?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. So I've got, as Vice President of Education, I've got something I want to read to you all, especially Virginia. This is not a speech evaluation, but this is especially about Virginia. When I filed Virginia's Gold Speaking Award, I decided since she didn't give me an employer to have the letter sent to, I'd have it sent to me. I just want to read you the kind of letter that Toastmasters sends to your employer when you make an achievement. Dear employer, so you're working for me now. Dear employer, I am pleased to inform you that Virginia Say has been recognized as an Advanced Communicator Gold for participating in the Toastmasters International Communication Program. Advanced Communicator Gold recognition is the highest award in Toastmasters communication program. The communication is a self-paced training program that helps participants improve their speaking skills in a club environment. To achieve Advanced Communicator Gold status, participants must complete a series of challenging speech assignments, conduct a training program, and mentor a new member. Completing these requirements involves several years of study and excellent communication skills. I could go on, but I've embarrassed Virginia enough, but I wanted to let you know they really do a good job. Congratulations, Virginia. Here's for your file of notable accomplishments.
And does she get a raise?
Does she get she should get a raise, shouldn't she? Maybe I'll take her on as a volunteer and then consider a raise, because she's a great volunteer. She serves our community well. Today, we have 3 longer speeches. Fortunately, one of them is the usual 5 to 7. So without further ado, I think we better get to today's agenda. So George is going to work as general evaluator, and I'm going to ask him while he's doing that job, because I can rotate back and do timing.
And I can time to help you time it for you.
Okay, great. So if one of us cover that, then George can really focus on also like our grammar faux pas if he happens to hear any and such. But the word for today that I thought of on the way over in the car, in case Virginia didn't get my message, was obtuse, which is a great mathematical word, but in our case, we're talking about someone who is somewhat reluctant to understand things in their proper perspective. The use in a sentence might be something like this. When Pete was told he was pudgy, he acted obtuse, or his response was obtuse. Okay, so it kind of means like non-cooperative, unusual, like that, like the triangle it is. Okay, so that being said, now you're prepared with a fun word as we go through today's meeting. So we'll start with Jim, because Jim's lined up with an evaluator already with his speech, and then we'll proceed to Nancy, and then we'll end up with Donna, as she's willing to help with the timing while Mark works on doing evaluations. So Jim Squires. Here we go. Wait for it.
Who am I going to evaluate?
Nancy.
Nancy,
Okay.
you got her book right there.
Okay.
Very good. Here's the question. Several times, Jim has been asked, what do you do to stay busy? The answer is, after preparing sermons and Bible classes, taking care of business for the Squires Family Corporation, serving on the City Study Commission, Dawson County Educational Foundation, the Screening Committee at Watch Each, Toastmasters, Ministerial Association, Dawson County Healthy Communities Coalition, I am a handyman. Today, Jim's going to do Project 3 in the Competent Communicator Manual, How to Say It. Time requested 8 to 10 minutes. Help me welcome Jim Squires, the handyman at our house.
Hey, thank you, Pete.
Jim, you have it down, you have this marked for project 4.
I believe it's project 3.
Well, I put my name on it.
Okay, project 3, how to say it.
Well, that's for how to say it.
Okay, whatever the one is how to say it. Recently, I did a project. I took pictures before and after of the component parts, and I built a sewing table for my wife. Now what I did is I took with started with a piece of furniture that was already well finished. It was a very wide Formica covered computer stand. It was very similar to what you're looking at the table here. It had a solid leaf dropping down on the side. It had a middle row, and then it had a narrower end over here. This is a beautiful piece of furniture weighing over 100 pounds. This is as solid can be. What I did was I drew a square or a rectangle in the right place of this, and I drilled 4 holes through this beautiful piece of furniture. Along came the jigsaw and I cut out that hole. Here is a marvelous piece of furniture that now has a gaping hole about like that in the top of it. I had Mel out of B&H Welding build a tray, and if you looked at it end on, it would look like this. It was a drop tray. I used carriage bolts, drilled holes through from the bottom up, and then dropped the carriage bolt, bolted that tray on, intentionally making it a ½ inch deeper than it needed to be. Key to a surface on a sewing machine is having enough room and having it flat and having it slippery. Now all of those things were accomplished. When I finished this thing, it impressed me, even me. This turned out so much better. When I posted it, I got over 30 responses to 2 different postings on Facebook. Some of the quotes said, "Nice, that was a cousin." Becky Vetter said, "Let the sewing begin." Carrie Sokolowski, Ryan Sokolowski from the park, his wife was watching this, says, and she very unabashedly said, "I want one." Stevie Schuster, who many of you perhaps remember from engaged in sewing in the community and then moved on, her comment was, "Looks great." Even my oldest son complimented me and he said, "Nice job, Papa." And then the last response that I would cite for you is actually was from Toastmasters. One of the people, Marla Merriman, who will probably be going into the trio in the next couple of years, said, "Wow, that would make quite the demo speech for a District 78 Toastmasters." That's part of the comment. I'm embarrassed to read the rest. Well, anyway, this very successful project led to a second one. My wife has actually 3 sewing machines plus a serger. No, I'll take that back. She has 4 sewing machines plus a serger. She keeps 3 sewing machines and a serger at hand at all times, ready to use. That means she has the need for an additional sewing table. Well, that project started last Saturday. We went to Dickinson to pick up a quilt. A lady there by the name of Tammy Burke has one of the really large quilting devices. It's from about knee to Pete long and is capable of probably doing a longer than 15-foot quilt. This is an incredible piece of machinery. It's tens of thousands of dollars for that type of equipment. She quilted my wife's Celtic quilt, which you will be able to see at the quilt show starting tomorrow. That quilt has 6,000 yards in the quilting of it. It's a king size bed cover, but wow, look for it. At the suggestion of Tammy Burke, we went over to Ike Heating Furniture, and there's a Furniture World store on the east side of Dickinson. We looked for a heavy table because we suddenly, after Caruza sewed on this thing, and it was literally minutes after I completed it, she had already purchased what they call a Sew Steady table, which is a 1/4 inch acrylic that fits, and it fits right into the sewing machine, pops into place, and provides a wonderful surface that gives you greater support widthwise. It's 24 inches. Normally, sometimes you'll have a sewing machine, particularly if it's setting up on above a tabletop, you're standing about that far up off the surface. That does things to your shoulders and your neck and your back. It doesn't do good things. Bottom line is she put on this device called a Sew Steady table and added that to that table. Oh my, better than good. I mean, this really was excellent. Artie Adams' comment is she recognized how valuable that was as a person who's an experienced quilter as well. So, second project is underway. Mel out at B&H is banging out the iron tray for it, and it hopefully I'll get that sometime by late tomorrow, be able to drill my holes and put it together. Ironically, the piece of the table that we found at Ike Heating Furniture was in the discount part. They had ordered the table and they didn't order any leaves for the table. So here you have a $500 table that's discounted to $99.99. It's this wide and about yay long, and it stands up about this high. Useless as a table. Maybe you could use it to cut it down for some other purpose, which is exactly what I did. I cut 6 inches off of the legs. I will drill through the beautiful top of that and cut a very large hole in that magnificent piece of furniture that it is. And I'll make this thing. And since then, I found a second Sew Steady accessory as a used piece off of eBay. These are expensive accessories. They're over $105 for those Sew Steady attachments. This one I got for $30. So I have to do a little bit of Dremel adjustment to that to make it work properly, but that is the case. Now, the handyman part of this whole thing is when we sold the farm, Ross Oakland went ahead and he replaced the office building that I used. Well, outside of the office building was a sign with about this wide with letters that nearly that wide. It said Squires Inc., Jim Squires manager, and a phone number. Bottom line is he pulled it off. The office building went to Fort Peck and is on someone's property at Fort Peck now. Well, this sign had been out in the wind and rain and weather for about 15 years, and the polyurethane coat was long gone. The letters were still good. They were cut in with a router, so they were still solid. But boy, was it gray and tarnished and flaky and all of that sort of thing. So out comes the high pressure washer, cleaned it off amazingly well. One of my sons gave my wife a rotary sander, little Porter cable rotary sander. It took maybe half an hour to dress that thing up, bring that old aged wood back to absolutely beautiful new condition. Bottom line of the whole thing, that project, it was a day project. I did complete it, and now that sign is on the back side of our house on the deck, Squires Inc., Jim Squires manager, with a 583 phone number on it. One of the things that, since we have one table complete, sewing table complete, the second one approaching that status, what do you do with an old sewing cabinet? My wife had a Viking sewing cabinet that was purchased new well over 40 years ago. It went through a Viking, a Singer, and 2 Berninas by this time. So several sewing machines have been worn out in this cabinet. As a result of the whole thing, now what do we do with it? Well, it was tattered, it had a lot of dings, and my wife and I talked about, let's just give it away. You know, well, a good friend of ours needed a cabinet, and so I went to bed about 9 o'clock that night. We just mentioned it, and I went to bed. She's sewing on this Celtic quilt, getting it ready, and I fell asleep and I woke up about 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, going to bed early has a problem for me because I wake up early and then can't sleep. I keep a Surface Pro tablet with earphones so I can check my late coming emails and do YouTube or whatever while my wife has just come to bed an hour before, so she's completely out. But the bottom line of the whole thing is a plan was hatched. I can sand that sewing cabinet and I can probably bring it back to good condition. By 7:30 in the morning, that sewing cabinet was in. The idea had been hatched early. By 4 in the morning. The sewing cabinet is in the driveway and sanded and varnished well before noon. Wow, a beautiful piece of a cabinet was restored with a little TLC. It was delivered last night. Renata Kungiser is setting up a sewing room and it fits perfectly. We got it out of the house, which we wanted to do, and it fits perfectly into her situation. So, I've already said way more than or told the story that I wanted to tell. These handyman projects go on. My power washer, I was only 17 years old, died the other day. The motor runs great, but it wouldn't build pressure. When they're worn out, that's what happens. They just don't build pressure. It was cheaper to buy a replacement high pressure washer, greater capacity online and get it delivered. But I did go ahead and order a pump. And so that's an additional project that I've been working on. And that project status is in pieces on top of the counter. So people ask me what I do to stay busy. Well, I just gave you a glimpse of what I do. And besides that, this is the 5th presentation that I have done this week. Mr. Toastmaster.
Mr. Squires. Thank you very much. Okay. Our next speaker always entertains me as she educates us. And before she gets started, George wanted to hand off the GE duties back to Peggy. He's got a list of who's doing what, Peggy. And then George is going to continue to be our wag for today. So our second speaker then is Nancy being evaluated by Mark. And Nancy's already working on Project 2, Resources for Informing, from the Speech to Inform booklet. Her speech, 5 to 7 minutes, is entitled, I Am Bush, Team Bush, Leadership Lessons. If you'd like the book to read, it is free. There's another fun fact already before she comes to speak with us. Would you like some help with any of this stuff as you come up? Okay. Won't you welcome Nancy to the lectern?
Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me, Nancy, I'm going to cut behind you.
You are the commander-in-chief. You're in charge of the White House. What would you do? How would you organize the White House? Do you have any ideas of what you would do? Well, that was one question that was posed to President Bush when he was in office, or even before he became into office. And it's probably something that each one of our presidents face in their term. I'm not a Republican, I'm not a Democrat. I'm actually bipartisan. You'll never know which way I swing on the ticket. I might swing Democrat this week, next week I could swing over to Republican. So So I can vote Democrat, Republican on the very same ticket. But I found this book very unusual. And it actually was a great read. It's called Team Leadership. It gives various informative things of how Bush was actually a good person for organizing a team. This is something we can all learn from. How do you organize a team? How do you organize to be in charge of something? Who do you pick to be in charge of something? Bush often stated that if I have any genius or smarts, it's the ability to recognize talent, ask them to serve, and work with them as a team. I read a lot of things about President Bush. I even watched a movie on him, and it really wasn't very flattering, to tell you the truth. They mentioned that he wasn't very talented as far as academic-wise. He did not go to some of the greater schools that other presidents went to. He did earn an MBA from Harvard, which is probably one of the very first presidents that actually had a business degree rather than coming in as a lawyer, which I was not even aware of. He actually unseated Ann Richards in 1994 for a gubernatorial team. He explored a presidential run. He had enough steel to do one of the most powerful jobs in the world, but yet he considered himself not really very talented, but he knew how to pick a good team. I wanted to look at a few things that he thought was very important for establishing a team, because actually I'm a supervisor in the purchasing department here at Glendive Medical Center, and it's very informative for me to know what did he think about building a good team. And these were some of the good qualities that he had to say. And I was really surprised at how many of them I actually agreed with him on. It was the ability to assemble a qualified people. Wouldn't you want to have somebody that has some kind of knowledge before you pick them to be on your team? I certainly would. And that was one of his qualifications. He wanted to pick the right person, no matter what their position was in the White House. He wanted the staff to be punctual, concise, and professionally attired. You know, sometimes we think that, oh, if I could only wear my jeans today. If only I could wear my jeans today. But he did not want his people to show up with jeans to the White House. He thought the White House was a professional building, that people should respect the office. He wanted people to be in suits and ties at all times. He wanted them to be on time. There was nothing more than he hated than somebody walking in 10 minutes late to a meeting. If you weren't up there in time, he started. He did not care. And there's so many times when you're talking, all of a sudden somebody comes through in a meeting. It's like, you missed half the meeting. Why don't you just stay at home? Develop a plan and stick to it. Make sure it is clear and sell the plan. He was very fortunate that he knew how to develop a plan and how to get people interested in the plan and how to keep on sticking to that plan no matter what it was. Don't fight battles that you can't win. Oh, that's one lesson I think we can all learn from. I don't know how many times that it's happened in my position where, geez, I just think I'm right and everybody else disagrees with me. And of course, usually I'm wrong, but this is something that he was very knowledgeable in. Staff discipline begins with personal discipline. He often said that he wanted his people to be disciplined in whatever they do. For instance, if he wanted them to make sure that they had a personal work life and a business work life, to be separating those two things. With professional discipline, he thought that it's okay to go out there and run 10 miles per day if need to be so. But he also wanted people to know that there's a time when you come to work, be prepared to work. Reach deeply to engage all members. Sometimes we kind of forget this fact. We kind of leave somebody else out. Maybe they just have something more knowledgeable to say about things. Focus the message by repeating it. Keep on repeating things over and over and over till it finally sticks with people. We are all here to make a difference. And that's actually what a team actually does. You're actually there to make a difference in something or some cause. Next time you assemble a team, will you use the Bush model to streamline decision making and boost productivity? Or will you try something different? I suggest maybe you want to try some of Team Bush's ideas. They certainly sound pretty feasible to me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Not to be obtuse, but how do you get that book for free?
Just take it.
Oh, you take it? Okay. All right, we've got a raffle prize or something in case there's more than one wants it. We can take turns with it. Thank you. Very well done. Very well done indeed. Our third speech today, President Donna Emmett will be completing Project 1 in the Interpretive Reading Manual to read a story. Donna's going to read to us from the book entitled Live Your Dash, Make Every Moment Matter by Linda Ellis. Donna is inspired by this book every time she reads it. I hope you will be too, and she hopes you will enjoy her reading and be inspired to live your dash and make every moment matter. Donna? Please give her a moment to set things up if she needs them.
Live your dash, make every moment matter. The line etched into a headstone between the dates of birth and death represents each step we take on earth and every single breath. To many, it is but a hyphen, marking the time between the years, but in that little dash is a lifetime of laughter, love, and tears. We each create the legacy our dash will someday represent, and decide if the life we're given is truly lived or merely spent. Some deem themselves successful if they can spend in large amounts, but how you live your only dash is all that really counts. Because success should not be measured in what you will buy or own, but in the pride you feel in the person you're with when you're all alone. Time steals our days and hours before we recognize the theft, and we live each day not knowing how much of our dash is left. The responsibilities of daily life, the bills, the job, the cash, affect the way we choose to use this important little dash. Life uses special moments, much like a poet uses rhyme, to engrave upon our hearts and souls single precious blocks of time. We often overlook these gifts, though we may not mean to do it. We walk right past a special moment instead of walking through it. These memories in the making are happening now and happening here. If we don't take the time to make the time they quickly disappear. To experience each moment, to laugh, to love, to live, to learn just how much to take from life and just how much to give. For when our time on earth is ending, we won't remember every day, but we will recall those moments we chose to live along the way. Consider your lifetime as a novel. You, the sole author and creator, writing and living every chapter for those to read and cherish. Will they say you lived your dash with worry, stress, and chatter? Or no, you seized every chance you had to make every moment matter? Yesterday will never reoccur. Tomorrow cannot be foreseen. The only thing that matters is the day found in between. The past and the future fill too much of what is me with memories and emotions of what has passed or what might be. Anticipation and regret seem to gnaw at my soul until I'm wrapped in a cocoon of days that I cannot control. Though one is gone forever, its seconds slowly ticked away, and I was never promised a day after today. The present is a perfect blend of what I've done and where I've been. I have never been this old before, nor will I be this young again. Today I made a solemn vow, only to myself, to place yesterday's regrets and woes high upon a shelf. Unreachable and out of mind will be that stress and sorrow alongside their companions, the worries of tomorrow. I shall escape the chains that bind me to what I cannot rearrange, for what will be will always be, and what was I cannot change. My heart will then embrace its freedom. The here and now will matter more. I will inhabit my life's moments like I never have before, by realizing everything I have instead of what I lack, and letting go of all the obstacles I've allowed to hold me back. The hours I've lived and those still pending, whatever they may mean, cannot compare to the magnificence of the day found in between. This day, this precious, wonderful gift has been bestowed upon me, and whatever I choose to do with it remains entirely up to me. I could squander these given hours, treat each task as if it's a chore, and mark this day from my calendar like so many times before. I could overlook the blooming flowers and ignore the sun's warm light before it inevitably sets again, turning my gift of day to night. I could dwell upon mistakes I've made and cry regretful tears and live my life in the shadow of my own anxieties and fears. Or I could make a resolution before one more day has passed that I will live it to its fullest as if it were my last. Then I shall, as I awaken, relinquish my fret and my sorrow and accept one more day to love and laugh with no guarantee of tomorrow. I shall pause to smell those flowers, and while their aroma fills my senses, vow to bury those anxieties, fears, and defenses. I shall drink in that sweet sunshine as it gently warms my skin, allowing its rays to slowly blossom my spirit from within. I shall not pass a stranger by without exchanging a tender smile. For this day we shared a moment of life, if only for a little while. Each night as I lay down my head, only to wake again, I'll pray, and if I do, then I'll thank God for giving me one more day. Our lives are measured by the minutes, which turn the hours into years, but remembered by the moments made of laughter, love, and tears. It is life's moments that define the years and chronicle our past, mile markers of a journey that is over much too fast. Those moments that may leave behind a secret smile or a scar are the notable, quotable happenings that make us who we are. It is the moments that we capture while in our minds we create indelible pictures of the time we spend as precious seconds dissipate. Routine hours may fill our days as simple blocks of time until a moment makes it seem as though the world is standing still. Today's moments are not forever, only a while do they last, and we all are living legacies of moments that have passed. In our memories, the years will blur, dates and times will fall apart, but moments are like epitaphs engraved upon a heart. Life's moments, precious gifts, more treasured than silver or gold, invaluable, intangible, and precious to behold. New moments lie ahead each day. They are there as we awaken. We should ask ourselves when the day is done, were there moments left untaken? Spontaneous or well rehearsed, causing laughter, causing pain. They may happen in the sunshine, they may happen in the rain. But moments turn into memories. What you've done, where you've been, and in each memory, each moment can be lived and lived again. Fleeting minutes of time may pass, to be recalled maybe never. Let us savor in life the moments, for they will stay with us forever. I read of a man who stood to speak at the funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on her tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted that first came the date of her birth and spoke of the following date with tears. But he said what mattered most of all was the dash between those years. For that dash represents all the time that she spent alive on earth, and now only those who loved her know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love and how we spend our dash. So think long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time is left that can still be rearranged. If we could just slow down enough to consider what's true and real and always try to understand the way other people feel. Be less quick to anger and show appreciation more, and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering that this special dash might only last a little while. So when your eulogy is being read with your life's actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things they say about how you spent your dash?
Thank you, Donna. And if you'll take over as timer as we discussed. Thank you. Pause for thought. Life and leadership. Peggy maintains a leadership library at 313 West Valentine. I am wondering if we put this in the library, if it might be available to all if the public library doesn't have it. What do you think, Peggy? I'd like it.
I'll be checking it out.
Okay.
Now, who's the author of that?
Who is the author? Donald F. Kettle,
Oh.
K-E-T-T-L. Yeah. It's Team Bush Leadership Lessons from the Bush White House. Does not sound one bit obtuse whatsoever. What is your pleasure? Everyone left who is not given a speech gets to give an evaluation speech. And we did run a little long with our speeches. So Peggy gets to give a speech about the quality of the meeting, and the rest who've not spoken get to give evaluation speeches. Shall we dispense with table topics or no?
Yes.
Oh, probably best. Very good. We will. That's exactly what we will do then. So I'm going to turn control of the meeting over to Peggy Iba. Thank you, Peggy.
I have missed being here because of the wonderful quality of these speeches today. In fact, one is bringing tears to my eyes because it was in this very building. I was in a meeting with Scott Duke, waiting for Linda Concilia to show up. That was the day she had her car accident. And so obviously she never came, we didn't know at the time. But later the headline in the Ranger Review was the dash between the years. And it's because she really did so much for our community and for the Chamber of Commerce. It was the dash, it was the treasure time that she spent between the years that really made so much to our community. I'm tickled to be able to hopefully read that book about Team Bush because that's wonderful advice to be able to pick leaders to help run your team. And I would like to, I'm glad you took that advice for your team, and I hope to read that book to use that the same. And Jim, your enthusiasm for that construction project, that you made it so visual, I can just absolutely see it. The quality of speeches today blows me away because I've been away from it, but it's wonderful and great to be back.
Thank you, Peggy. Thank you very much. So without further to do, since we started with Jim and then we went to Nancy and then we went to Donna, let's start with Jim's evaluator to give his evaluation report and educate all of us. That would be, of course, Virginia. Would you like to come up or would you like to do it from there?
I can stand.
Very fine, thank you.
I wish I were a much better evaluator though. And Jim's speech was how to say it. Was the speech topic appropriate for this particular assignment? Yes. And did the speaker use simple, short, and clear words? Says satisfactory? Yes, he did. Did the speaker use vivid descriptive words that created mental images? Yes. Were the speaker's sentences short, simple, and understandable? I thought most of them were. They were very understandable. Did the speaker use the rhetorical devices to enhance his or her ideas? Yes, his ideas about his wife even. I enjoyed that. Did the speaker avoid jargon and unnecessary words? I think he did. He didn't put in a lot of extra words that we couldn't even understand. Did the speaker use proper grammar? Yes. Was the speech purpose clear? Yes. Was the speech effectively organized? Yes. And what could the speaker have done differently to make the speech more effective? One time he was sharing with us something and all of a sudden he stopped with his sharing and he changed it to something else. He just stopped what he was sharing with us and changed what he was sharing to a different idea. And what did you like about the speech? Shared it with us about what your wife did and what she needed and about new machines and things that you do to do those things. Thank you.
Thank you, Virginia. I believe Mark is next up with the evaluation of Nancy's speech. We look forward to you educating us, Mark.
Okay.
Well, Nancy, I thought your speech was really a really good speech. For you knew your topic well, and the audience could understand it easily, and things like this. And I thought it was a really good speech for 5 to 7 minutes. And you started off, you talked about speaking to the audience, it says, "You are Commander-in-Chief," and you went on to ask, "What would you do as president?" And there you used some hand gestures, back and forth. You talked about President Bush, and you made a reference to say, "I am partisan." I'm Democrat and I am Republican. And I thought you did real good. You read a lot of your speech without notes. And very informative speech. You mentioned here that President Bush, he wanted his staff to be punctual, and he wanted his staff to wear suits and ties. And again, he wanted his staff to be well dressed, punctual. And I kind of like the way you coined this one. You know, you talked about Bush understanding in italics. Yeah, if you know what I mean. The question here in your manual, it says, "How well was the speech directed to the interest and background of the audience?" It says it was well done. What methods did the speaker use to support his or her major points? How effective were these methods? Hand gestures, spoke without notes. Very good. How did the visual aids enhance audience understanding? Strong-willed visual aids. You were really forceful, not forceful, but aggressive with your visual aids. How knowledgeable did the speaker appear to be about the subject? Quite knowledgeable. Did the speech appear to be well researched? Very well researched. Very good speech, being only 5 to 7 minutes.
Thank you very much. And last but not least in the evaluation category, George, would you give us our evaluation of Donna's speech?
Hello, Toastmaster, especially Donna. All I can say, first of all, is wow.
Yeah.
That was something. And the purpose of the speech is to give a selection, read a selection that will help us understand it. And that, I think, was accomplished very much. You have to be pretty obtrusive person if you didn't get touched someplace in this particular selection. I'll just go through the questions. What's the theme? Understandable by the storyteller? Very much so. I think it probably touched everyone. To what degree did the speaker achieve the author's purpose of projecting the meaning and the emotions of the message? I just have down here a home run. How did the speaker emphasize the words which were important, revealing major views? I think very well. How did the speaker build the story climaxes? I think that was good choices of selections. I think would apply here. That made that true. To the introduction of transition help you better understand the narrative? Well, somewhat. Was the speaker able to establish and maintain good contact with the audience? I thought she did a wonderful job with that. Very good eye contact. And I think everybody was hanging on every word. Did the speaker appear spontaneous during the presentation? Yes. What could the speaker have done differently, maybe, to make the presentation better? I put down maybe she could have given a little background to the author, because it was allowable in this format to make some comments before you started, and so give you a little background in the author instructions. I would have enjoyed that. What did you like about the presentation? I think the biggest thing was how comfortable it was, how comfortable she was doing that, and I think we all just felt really relaxed. And I think I always like somebody to read, and I think it maybe goes back. My mother read to me, my school teacher read to me, my older brother read to me, and there's something that I just have a feeling of comfort when that happens. In fact, she sat down there and picked up the book and started reading. I just think that's what I really felt was outstanding about that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So it's time to be thinking about passing ballots to our Sergeant of Arms for Best Evaluator and Best Speaker, as you have them. And least I be accused of being obtuse, I'm gonna hand this book right now to Peggy, as she has enthusiasm for it as well, and I'll look forward to our leadership library when she is done. In honor of Alan, who gave a speech roasting me last time and could not be here because the newspaper moved up their deadline a day, I am reminded, thinking of the Bushes, that one of his rock and roll favorites, Keith Richards, when he met President Clinton, turned to the drummer Charlie Watts and said, what did Clinton say about the election? And Watts looks dumbfounded, and Richards says, I've been bushed. So without further ado, if you got your ballots over to Virginia, please. And while Virginia finishes that, George, can you give us a WAG report at this point? How do people do with grammar and faux pas and all of that sort of stuff that you noticed?
Well, I didn't keep track of everybody individually, but I did notice a couple of pauses. Maybe Mark made one, but he did a very good job. And all in all, I think it was pretty good. I think grammar, I didn't catch it, just incorrect grammar.
Okay, thank you very much. I caught myself doing an off as well, and I just kept right on moving, tried to minimize it as much as possible. In his speech last week, week before last, Alan said that his comment about wishing that he'd known me longer was actually his wish that he had been in the meeting when Virginia caught me with 26 problems, which is still the club record. He's sorry he missed that because he's made so much improvement along those lines. So as soon as Virginia is ready, we will ask her for the results of our best speaker and best evaluation speech, and thank Peggy for her speech as well. One of the best table topics I've heard off the cuff in a long while. Yes, let's go ahead and get the times. That would be a good thing to do while we're at it.
Okay. Jim's speech, 8 to 10 speech was 12.20. Nancy's 5 to 7 speech was 7, right on. Donna's 8 to 10 speech was 9.25. Speech evaluators, Virginia's time was 1.56. Mark was 2.33, and George was 2.17.
Thank you. We can send that to Jim so that he's got those notes. Thank you. Okay. Any club business before Virginia's ready to give us the results? Anything that we haven't mentioned that we need to know as a club?
I'd just like to remind everyone when they're done with a project to send it to Pete to initial.
Thank you.
I'll be headed to Deadwood on the 1st and bringing back hopefully some information on the new materials, new study programs and manuals. And that's really one of the purposes I want to pick up and clarify.
Great. And that's one of the purposes of our dues too, so that Toastmasters from time to time can improve our learning tools. Virginia, are you ready at this point? I see you're still studying.
Our best speaker is for Donna. And evaluator is George today.
Okay. All right, very good. With that, I believe we're adjourned. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for an excellent meeting.
So you're gonna ask you, this definition of obtuse, what's the definition of that again?
Obtuse is like having difficulty understanding.
Oh, I see, I see.
Like Virginia and Jim gave us a good demonstration of that in the beginning of the meeting when neither one of them was sure which number of the manual Jim was going to be speaking on.
Thank you. Yeah, it's.
Say, Jim, you know, in your recent speech,
I have that.
oh, you got it, yeah. Jim, you know, in this recent, in your recent comments on